Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an accomplished entrepreneur from Gurgaon, India, Mr. Joshi Sikha. Joshi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Joshi is the co-founder of ScrapMyCar. So let's start with asking you a question. Tell me about ScrapMyCar and your motivation to start it.
Okay. So ScrapMyCar is basically an online platform. It's a one-stop solution for scrap car owners to connect with government authorized scrappers. And we only work with government authorized scrappers. And the reason we started is because we came back to India. My co-founder and me, we came back here. We were friends. We had met in the MBA. And we are automobile enthusiasts. And we went to a local market over here to buy some parts, and we saw how dirty it was. Just one of the most dirtiest places you can ever go to. It's called Mayapuri. It's in Delhi. And it's Asia's largest car recycling center.
Okay.
We didn't know that, but then when we went there, it was just, I don't know how they let it exist for so long. It's one of the most dirtiest places we've ever been to.
Yeah.
And there was so much wastage. And we said, hey, you can organize this and do this so much better.
Yeah.
And we've seen models in Spain and Europe and America of how in America it's over 75 years old, the whole car scrapping industry. And there's no reason why India cannot have that. And so we set out on a mission to try and clean up and organize the whole sector mainly. And so we started our own yard in 2017. My partner and me actually got down and dismantled and broke the cars ourselves.
Okay.
So we know it. So we actually got down and did the work. We didn't hire anyone. We both of us got down and did the whole thing ourselves. And then eventually we failed at that. Then we started another one in 2019. That went a little better. And then, which is only divine intervention, on March 1st, 2020, we closed it. With the aim of setting up a licensed proper facility in an industrial zone. And a week later, COVID hit.
Oh boy.
And so we were safe in that we had let all our workers go and sold all the inventory and everything. But then we would have lost all of that if we had done it before COVID. So that was clear. And then during COVID, we were just sitting down just at home and like nothing was happening. And then we went back to our original idea, which was let's make an auction platform. Because when we first thought of the idea in 2016, 17, there were no licensed scrappers.
Correct.
So that defeats the purpose of going clean. So now by 2020, 2021, they had government had authorized 8 scrappers to only they were allowed to do car recycling. So I said, hey, this is a good time to launch this platform. And so we pivoted our business model. And we learned the biggest problem in this business is actually procuring cars.
Correct.
You don't have enough scrap cars. So we pivoted to this model where we become a platform where car owners can come and give us their cars, we give us photos of the cars, and we auction it out. We get the best price, and we give it to the customer, and then we handle all the legal documentation of it.
Fantastic.
That's what we do.
And what are the rules for scrapping cars in India? I know that in the National Capital Region, it's some 10, 12, 15 years.
Yeah. So it's a bit confusing here. So in the NCR area, Delhi NC, the National Capital Region, it is 15 years for petrol and 10 years for diesel.
Okay.
Now, this rule, maybe people don't realize, this was made by the NGT, which is the National Green Tribunal.
Okay.
Which is set up to ensure pollution is under check and everything. So this was enforced by them and the Supreme Court. So in this place, it's 15 years for petrol, 10 years for diesel. All over India, outside Delhi NCR, it's 20 years for petrol and 15 years for diesel.
Oh, okay.
That's the difference. And the All India policy has been made by the central government. But the Delhi policy is made by the Delhi government. So there's clashes over there.
Therefore, Delhi cars or NCR cars then get sold outside NCR.
They do, depending which model. The good ones do get sold. They try their best to sell it. But there's so many people who can't sell it. Majority of them don't have people around that they can sell to. So sadly, they have to
Tell me, Joshi, how big is the market for scrap cars in terms of, rupees?
Okay, rupees. I was calculating in dollars.
Okay, dollars is fine. Dollars is fine also.
As of now, it's around $12 billion. With the growth with the growth of around total market right now, with a growth of around $3.5 to $4 billion. Billion dollars. Wow. And this is just with the volume of cars, around 2.5 crores. That's about 25 million cars. Automobiles. Out of that, 30% are cars and the remaining are two-wheelers and three-wheelers. but that's the amount we have over here. And Delhi is the biggest, has the largest amount amongst all of them. And
Correct.
so you have to look at car sales from 2000s, early
Hmm.
2000s, every year, because India's wealth kept increasing every year.
Hmm.
Every year you had the car sales went up, which means at this point there's more, the availability of scrap cars goes up. And you can very clearly, it's very interesting to, I think like we got a very good view of India from a different angle. And I think cars are, especially in a country like India, cars really speak of the wealth of India.
Correct.
And so just for a short example, like last year, we would see a lot of Hyundai Santros and Wagonars and the smaller cars. Suddenly, the past 2 months, all the guys working for me started saying, we're noticing more Honda Cities
Wow.
and SX4s and a little higher, a little more expensive cars, and like, oh, it's a very interesting change. It's very, very clear change. So it's, yeah, got a good view of that.
Fascinating. And you say that the $3.5 to $4 billion that is in dollar terms, how much would that be in unit terms? I mean, how many number of vehicles would you be handling? Would the scrap market be handling?
See, Delhi alone, as of now, has 800,000. That's 8 lakh cars. These are four-wheelers, okay, not including the bikes. Including motorcycles, it goes to 22 lakhs. It's 2.2 million or something.
Yeah.
So 8 lakhs is what we have right now in Delhi NCR. And that is growing. That is growing every year, just going higher. More than 10% growth of that is happening. So you can see that much, just Delhi NCR alone. Delhi is the biggest area in India with the most cars.
Amazing. And one of the biggest challenges, I mean, I must have sold a dozen cars in my lifetime. One of the biggest challenges that is always faced is transparency in this business. I mean, I've had horror stories where I sold a car, assumed it had been registered, and it had not been registered. And then had to get all kinds of problems. But what are you doing to ensure transparency for sellers?
So what we do, we are very clear on our mission. And you can see it with our name itself. It's called Scrap My Car. Not trade your car, not sell your car, not let's see what we can do about your car.
Correct.
We're very clear about Scrap My Car. So we only get cars for scrap. And what we do, we offer the customer, the car owner, complete. First of all, because we work only with licensed scrappers, we even tell them once the auction is done, we even tell them, even before, we tell them, look, this is the name, this is the guy who gave the price for you. And they're surprised and they're like, okay, they're more than welcome to go out and reach out these guys. That's one thing. And we give them the legal certificates, the government mandated certificates that are required for car scrapping. We give them that. And then the second thing is we offer, after the scrapping is done, we offer to get the car deregistered from the RTO.
Okay.
Now, this is part of the service, and we charge them. It's a small, very small fee, which they say, take it. There's nothing. You guys are pretty much free for this. So it's a very small fee that we charge them to get the car deregistered, which means we submit their RC and the proof of destruction and scrapping to the RTO on their behalf.
Okay.
And you get a complete destruction. The RTO from a letter from the RTO says this car has been cancelled. This RC has been cancelled. And so customers are very happy. The reviews we've been getting have been excellent. And all this they do from just sitting at the house.
Fantastic.
And no one likes dealing with the RTO. And these guys sitting at the house, everything's done for them. They're very happy.
So an unrelated question, but when you scrap the car, what happens to the number? Does that stay with the owner of the car or does it die?
What happens? We give them the chassis plate. Doesn't the chassis number is
no, not the chassis number, the car registration number.
Yeah, so the car registration. So what we give them is a chassis number, and we keep the car registration, like the number plate on the car. But then what happens? The RC registration that I spoke to you about, where we give it to the RTO. That's when we submit the number with the RC card back to the RTO. So it completes the cycle. You got the RC from the RTO, use the car, and now you submit the RC back to the RTO. Okay. And the RTO will completely cancel it for you. They will deregister. They'll make sure there's no fines, there's no challans, there's no taxes, no cases against the car, and they completely deregister the car.
Wonderful. And a car, Joshi, has very, very different types of components, Metal, of course, is valuable, but there are plastics and so many other things.
Yeah.
What happens to the various parts of the car when it is scrapped?
Very interesting. So, there's lots of materials there. Majority of it is metal, like steel, proper steel, about 60% of it is steel. Then you have the rubber, plastics, as you mentioned. There's some of them have, depending on the model, they have aluminum, coppers there and the wiring. So what happens is, so we hired these guys from Mayapuri one day. In less than an hour, he had chop the entire thing into pieces.
Mm.
And then you segregate, because these guys understand, they know what is copper, what is iron, they know. And so we segregate them into the materials. So rubber on one side, glass on one side, plastics on one side, metals on one side, aluminum, copper, all you segregate them. And then you have buyers for that material.
Okay.
Now, these are all scrap material. And India is wonderful in this, in terms of like the demand for scrap material.
Correct.
It is massive, like massive. One of the largest in the world, I think, in demands for scrap material. So that's one big thing that keeps us going. Like, dude, there's a lot of money untapped. No, it's like a mine that no one is touching.
Correct.
It's not cool. So another term for this is actually urban mining. There's so much steel and resources, raw material you're getting, and no one's tapped into it.
Absolutely. In fact, I was talking to somebody the other day on one of my interviews on recycling. And they actually said that in India, we even change the ballpoint refill. That's how conscious we are. So I can imagine when it comes to much higher value products like cars, recycling.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Exactly what you're saying. The thing is, this whole concept of recycling and reusing and conserving is so new to countries like US and Europe, but in India, unconsciously, we've been doing this.
Correct.
And even automobiles, they're actually getting reused very nicely. It's done a dirty way, but at the end of the day, they're reusing and getting a lot of value from that. Because I think that happens when you are less wealthy or poorer country, that you want to get as much value. Look at the shampoo bottles we use. You make sure you take everything out. We put water and rinse it off and take it.
Correct.
Take a little bit from it.
Correct.
And that's how it should be. We must never reach the level of consumption of the West. Never. That's completely unsustainable.
Absolutely.
The whole planet.
I agree with you. And do you plan to take ScrapMyCar beyond cars to other products also, other vehicles?
We just registered ScrapMyBike.
Okay.
.in. So we're going to go into bikes. And actually, when we initially set out, the name of our company is actually registered as Vicar Recycling Solutions. So this is something we've started. This is the most important thing we started right now, ScrapMyCar. But the need for organized recycling is so huge in India. It's huge in India. And there's no big player in this. There's no big player in this whole sector. And so we do plan to go beyond this. We've been approached by companies, a construction company that said, please come and help us get rid of the waste on construction sites. And these are huge 5-star hotels and big IT parks and everything, saying, please come and help us. We don't have anyone who's addressing this in a proper way. They just calls kabadiwalas from here and there. They think that the volume is so big that we don't have people. Correct. So if you can please help us with that, please come and do this. So there's many things. So lots of potential there.
One more question relating to ScrapMyCar, and then I'll come to a few questions to you as a startup entrepreneur. One of the things that a lot of people go to Mayapuri is to get spare parts for their cars, which are either too expensive or maybe not available. How do you handle the market for spares when you're scrapping a car?
So this is very fascinating. I can spend the whole evening talking about this. I won't. So parts, again, Mayapuri is a big place. And the thing is, we need, only when we start, see, MBA teaches a lot of things. It doesn't make you an entrepreneur.
Correct.
Only when we started, we found out all these things. So the biggest buyer of parts are actually mechanics. I think over 90%, more 95% are just mechanics. And these guys want a deal. So they will bargain like crazy just to get a part for like 10 rupees cheaper. So we started our yard. We had mechanics come. We had gone out and met all the mechanics in Gurgaon. Pretty much all of them. I've gone, given them my card and spoken to them. They would come over and buy parts. And we learned very soon how to, because we came from European education. We thought, okay, we should package the product properly, clean it up, package it properly. And then we connected with the local scrappers, and they said, don't clean it. Like, don't ever sell a part that's clean, because then they're going to doubt you. So this guy's opened this part and fixed it and sold it to us. So we don't want to clean. They want it as dirty as possible from the car. Best is we can take it from the car in front of them. They're very happy. If not, it has to be dirty. That's a big sign of how good a part is. If it's dirty, it's good. If it's clean, it's not. So that's one thing. But that being said, the new thing that we are now we're working on launching is a brand, another platform, online platform, which is a brand of quality used parts.
Wow.
So we are doing that now. We're launching a brand where, we'll have all the licensed guys connect, and they can put up their inventory, their parts inventory on the site. And then we can sell it all over India and abroad, but mainly India right now, because the demand is there. Okay, now so many people, just the internet is just fascinating to me. I mean, I've always liked it, but when you start working on a tech product, then you start realizing the potential of the internet. And people have been checking it. So all over India, the demand for parts is there.
Absolutely.
But they aren't able to get it. And there is no organized supply chain for used car parts. It's over $1 billion market.
Yeah.
And there's no organized supply chain for used parts. I'm sure you also encounter that with the pharmaceuticals when you started out.
Well, yes, I'm encountering it with one of my cars also, but maybe I'll talk to you offline on that
Yes,
one.
definitely.
But Joshi, moving on, as two bright young MBAs from overseas, you came back to India and became startup entrepreneurs. And as you were just telling me, you started just before the pandemic. I wanted to ask you my first question relating to startups, and it's often debated. Should a startup entrepreneur go solo, or should they have a co-founder? And I know you have a co-founder.
So strongly recommend go with a co-founder. Find someone, because I've started many businesses on my own. I've tried since I was young, since I was 23, 24, I tried many businesses. I've tried getting scrap ships. I've tried selling airline parts to Iran. I've gone to Afghanistan, tried to sell generators there. I've done many things on my own, and no, it doesn't go anywhere. It's
well said. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's very much like being a single parent, because I look at businesses as children, as babies. And it's best when you have parents of the full family, everyone supporting you on that one. And ever since even before when I had a team, when we started for previous business, we got much further than where we went when we were alone, when I was single. And then when I had my co-founders this time, it was just so much better to go that way. So definitely recommend going with a co-founder.
Well said. And my next question is that what, in your opinion, are some of the basic reasons a lot of startup founders make?
Okay, so I actually wrote them down over here.
Okay.
The first one is, this is not in any set order.
Yeah, absolutely.
One is they don't look at unit economics. And I'm seeing that a lot in startups. And India has a very good advantage in that we have entrepreneurs who do businesses the way it's been done for ages. And they're very particular about every single paisa. Every single thing has to make some kind of sense. Even if you're making 1 paisa profit per unit, make that profit. And I think with startups now, they're just getting blinded by, and we also were there many years ago. You get blinded by, okay, I'm going to get funding, I'm going to go VC. You get taken over by that. But you fail to realize, okay, your unit economics has to make sense. Per unit, if you're not making profit, this is not going to work. At least scale it up, see if you can scale it up and then make profit. But if you're still not going to make profit, it's not going to work. So make sure you focus on the unit economics. That's one thing. Okay, growing into that one, growth without profit. Don't ever go for that. Don't go for growth without profit, because you will end up somewhere very bad. You will later on, it will hit you if you go without that. And then not pivoting in time. This is one thing I think many guys, they just keep going with what they had initially. They just keep on going with that idea. That they just become deaf to reality or what's actually happening, and they don't pivot. Like, we realize, okay, this what we're doing is not we can't add value. It was a big experience for us to learn when we broke the cars ourselves, when we had our own yard. It was very important for us because today we understand the business so much better from the ground up. We're not just two tech guys who came and started something. We understand every single bit of the business now. That was important for learning, but then we pivoted at the time when it was needed. We realized customer service is our main strength, and it is the biggest weakness of the scrappers. It's a perfect fit over here right now. It's a perfect fit over there, and so we went into this one.
Fantastic.
So you got to keep track of that, and then another one is we try to do everything ourselves. Most entrepreneurs try to do everything just to save money. Okay, I'll do this, I'll do marketing, I'll do this, I'll do cleaning, everything. And it doesn't work. You have to give out responsibility to other people. That's very important.
Correct. Well said. Well said. My next question to you is, and it's probably applicable to ScrapMyCar as well. You've got a strong presence, say, in the NCR. The $1 million question for every founder is, when should I scale up?
Yeah, I wrote about that also. First of all, again, going back to the previous thing, you have to make sure your unit economics is right. Okay, and then you have to have repeat business. If you're getting only 5 or 6 people and they like your product, that's not enough. You have to get repeat business. This is one thing you need to have, depending on the business type, we need to have repeat business, people coming in. So now, and you have to have growth. You have to have at least small incremental growth that you can measure and that you can see that's happening month on month at least. So when we pivoted to this model in around September, October last year, we were getting customers. It was working a little better for us. We were able to convince them. Then it started growing. By end of December, we had about 30 customers. And by Jan, we're doing 35, 40. Then it shot up to 50. And now the last month we did 70. And we hired, that was just me. With me alone, we did about 50 something. And now with the new trainees and everything joined, we're getting them to 70. And now every month we're seeing more people interested in our work. And so now we know that, okay, this is a model. It does work. We know that we've proven the business model to ourselves and to people around us who know the business. We've proven that this works. Because before that, we weren't sure if it works. But now we know it works. We got the right fit. Everything's there. And now is the time to scale. Now is the time. Now the policy is coming all over India. Right now, the policy was only in Delhi, so it made sense to stay here. And once we saw that repetitive growth, it's the cycle, the wheel is moving, then you start to expand.
Wonderful.
That's when you got to look at that.
Fabulous. And my last question to you, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation, Joshi.
Yeah.
What would you say are 3 lessons you want our viewers and listeners to take away from your amazing experience and our conversation?
Okay. So when I've written them down, actually. One, when starting a business, there is no substitute for hard work.
Okay.
This is just, it's nothing new. It's just one of the oldest lessons in the world. There is no substitute for hard work. You cannot outsource that. You cannot hire a consultant to do that.
Correct.
You just got to get down and do it. And that's the best way to get started, because that helps you understand the real business, the real things you're doing. You really get down to that and you realize that. That's number one. Then another one is India-centric. For entrepreneurs in India, I'm sure around the world also, if you look, you will find the opportunity. But India has massive, enormous untapped potential. The scrap business alone is something that's about $20 billion plus and growing.
Yep.
So you can imagine that's one sector. So when you have a nation like India with 1.3 billion people, and most of our systems are unorganized. Most of them are unorganized, and people are now moving. They want organized. They understand customer service. They want something better. The potential is massive. I mean, almost everywhere you look, you see $1 billion potential. That's the second one. Third one is failure is a great asset.
Yeah.
Use it wisely.
Okay.
You need to fail. Failure is one of the best things that can happen to you. Seriously, is you try a few times, you fail. Just make sure you know how to use failure. The problem with India is there's a lot of shame in failure. He's this age, hasn't achieved this, hasn't done that. They have a set thing. And so, especially in India, I know it's there globally, but in India, it gets a bit more
exaggerated
on that one. Yeah, very much. So failure is great. Don't ever regret failing. Make sure you just know how to use it properly. Understand why you failed and go back and do it again. Don't ever use it as an end point.
Wonderful. Joshi, on that note, thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for talking to me about your last 3 lessons. Let's talk about first, which is there is no substitute for hard work. There are huge potential opportunities in India, and therefore, for Indian entrepreneurs, look at being India-centric. And the third one is failure is a great asset. Failure is a great learner. You got lots of learnings from failure. Thank you also for talking to me about the scrap car market. I had heard about Mayapuri, but I had no idea it's Asia's largest scrap car market. Thank you again for talking to me about everything that you're doing in your journey, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Wish you all the best and hope we continue talking. I really like this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called you.